Chapter 2096, Reincarnation, 3. Could you tell me where your extra 300 years of memories are from then? Enchanting looked expressionlessly at this seemingly gentle but actually oppressive fox-faced man. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. There's nothing extra in my memories. You must be mistaken. She could sense the situation turning strange. She had already proven that she wasn't a clone, but why did she get the feeling that these people from the Temple of Paragon were treating her as the reincarnation of their Holy Lord? She had no choice but to pose as the Holy Lord of Shadows previously, but was she supposed to pose as the Holy Lord of the Temple of Paragon now? The heavens didn't give her enough guts to do that. No matter how powerful the Temple of Shadows was, it was just a mere ant to the Temple of Paragon. Further to that, she didn't understand much about the second domain, let alone the elusive Temple of Paragon. She didn't want to take this risk. Do you really not remember anything? The fox-faced man looked at her with uncertainty. Almost as though he was trying to pick up some hints from her gaze. She nodded resolutely. He suddenly smiled and said, "All right, since this was all a misunderstanding, I won't keep you any longer. You can leave." Enchanting breathed a sigh of relief but couldn't shake the feeling that there was something strange in the way he had said it. Elder Hua, who was standing at the side, seemed to have something to say, but the fox-faced man gestured for her to hold her tongue. After looking at them a few more times, she turned to leave through the main hall. She didn't want to be involved with the Temple of Paragon. She walked towards the light and her slender figure passed right through it and straight out of the temple. All this was witnessed by the other elders and the fox-faced man. She really crossed it. A smile appeared in Elder Hua's eyes. She placed his hand on his chest and said, "The guardian is smart after all." The fox-faced man smiled. "Elder Hua, aren't you going to get the Holy Lord back?" Elder Hua nodded slightly as she vanished from the main hall. Enchanting had just walked out of the main hall when she saw the winged man who she had met outside previously. The winged man seemed shocked to see her walk out alone. "How did you come out?" he asked in surprise. She replied, "I walked out." What kind of question was that? The winged man had a complicated expression on his face. This woman was clearly not from the Temple of Paragon, so how did she just walk out like this? The winged man seemed to want to ask her something, but Elder Hua walked out of the main hall at that moment. The winged man dropped down to one knee. "Greetings, Elder Hua." Seeing that Elder Hua had come out behind her, Enchanting quickly turned to leave. "But, please wait." Elder Hua flew in front of her as she smiled at her. Chapter 2097, The Disintegrating Seal, 1. It's no trouble at all. "We just don't want any harm to come to you," Elder Hua said with a smile. Enchanting looked at her suspiciously. Seeing that she was listening, Elder Hua continued, "Since you're from the first domain, you're probably unfamiliar with the second domain. The mainland that the Temple of Paragon is on is surrounded by an ocean of waste. There are many void storms in the ocean, and you have to pass through all of these before you can leave. Is that true?" She looked at Elder Hua, not fully trusting her words of caution. Elder Hua could feel Enchanting's distrust towards her, but she wasn't worried. "You were brought here by the six-winged fire phoenix." This simple sentence was enough to prove her point. After all, the six-winged fire phoenix was extremely strong, so it could easily withstand the void storms, but Enchanting. Once again she was left feeling the vast difference in their powers. But she suddenly thought of something as well. In her previous life, when she had come to the second domain, she had indeed heard that there were strong forces between the mainlands. "If you don't trust me, I can have someone to take you to the edge of the mainland so you can have a look," Elder Hua said. With that, Elder Hua lifted her chin at the winged man. The winged man got the message at once, but he was extremely curious as to what Enchanting's identity was. Why did Elder Hua care so much about someone from the first domain? Who was this human? There's no need to, I believe you. Enchanting went through all the information she had of the second domain in her mind. In her previous life, she had heard of both the Temple of Paragon as well as the Void Storms before. It was true that she didn't have the power to withstand it. She wasn't an idiot and could hear that Elder Hua wanted her to stay. After all, there was no way that every single person in the Temple of Paragon was so busy they couldn't make time to send her back. Since that's the case, I guess I'll stay for a few days. She decided to stay at the Temple of Paragon for now as she thought of ways to sneak away. Elder Hua smiled gently, satisfied with Enchanting's reply. She brought her back into the main hall. The winged man looked as Enchanting and Elder Hua returned to the main hall. He was surprised again when he saw her once again walk into the temple alone. That human, how could she move so freely in and out of the temple? The winged man wanted to try entering it himself but gave up in fear when he saw the illusionary space. Could the elders have given the ring to her? The winged man murmured, before dismissing the thought immediately. It was absurd to even think such a thing. Like that, Enchanting was brought back into the temple by Elder Hua. When they entered, Elder Bai and the others in the main hall were already gone. Elder Hua materialized a colorful butterfly in her hand. It will take you to your room. Enchanting nodded slightly and followed the butterfly out of the main hall. Elder Hua's smile vanished from her face as Enchanting left. Guardian, are you certain she's the reincarnation of the Holy Lord? Elder Bai's voice rang out in the main hall, but he was nowhere to be seen. I'm not 100% certain, but the possibility is high, the fox-faced man replied. Chapter 2098, The Disintegrating Seal, 2. She is so similar to the Holy Lord that even I cannot tell the difference between them. Her age and the extra 300 years worth of memories are extremely strange. You all saw for yourself just now as well, that she could leave this place of her own accord. How could she have done that if she was completely unrelated to the Holy Lord? The fox-faced man's words made the elders start pondering. This temple was built by the Holy Lord, who used the power of space to open the space door and create this dimension. You should all be clear that no one can enter this place without the Holy Lord's permission. The only reason we can come and go as we please is because we were the rings containing the Holy Lord's word. Elder Hua seemed to agree with the fox-faced man. She lifted her right hand to look at the bronze ring on her finger. Elder Bai and the fox-faced man both had this ring. The elders who had yet to show themselves all had rings as well. They could only move in and out of the space that the Holy Lord had created when they were wearing the rings. Outsiders sound only step foot in the place if they brought them in personally. I already thought that it was weird when the girl walked out. The Holy Lord said before that other than people who have already mastered the power of space, no one else would be able to enter the space that she created. In all these years, have you ever seen someone with the power of space other than the Holy Lord? If she really does have some connection to the Holy Lord, don't you think that this is all too coincidental? The elder all started discussing among themselves whether Enchanting really was the Holy Lord's reincarnation. Indeed, it was not possible for them to confirm this in such a short frame of time. As such, they all agreed with the fox-faced man's plan to get Enchanting to stay in the Temple of Paragon in the meantime so they could observe her. As the Temple of Paragon was discussing Enchanting's identity, she arrived at her room and found somewhere to sit down. She instinctively turned to the little white tiger to tell it about her day but realized that her side was empty when she looked over. I forgot, the little tiger was locked in the Temple of Shadows by me. Enchanting twisted her lips. She wasn't used to being alone since she was used to having the little white tiger by her side to listen to her. I wonder if little Yu Yun has woken up, she sighed softly. Fortunately, the ancient Yu clan had been exterminated and the central mainland wasn't in danger anymore. The ancient Yu clan had been extremely secretive with little Yu Yun, which meant that the other tribes didn't know of her existence and she was safe. As soon as she spoke, she suddenly felt a chill on her chest. It felt as though something was rubbing against her chest through her clothes. She froze and opened up her jacket to take a look. A little creature as thick as her thumb was nestled nicely, fast asleep at her chest. Little lightning dragon. Her eyes widened as she looked at the little lightning dragon which she hadn't seen in a while. Her lips curved up into a smile. The little lightning dragon was back. When all the living creatures of the first mainland had been devoured by little Yu Yun, the little lightning dragon had not been so lucky. But now, the little lightning dragon had appeared again. Enchanting suddenly had the thought that since the ancient Yu clan had been destroyed, Elder Yuan who had been controlling little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui was probably as dead as a doornail. Chapter 2099, The Disintegrating Seal, 3. Without the control of Elder Yuan, little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui would be regaining their will soon. My dear, I've missed you so much. Enchanting was in a great mood. Scooping up the little lightning dragon into her hands, she gave it a light kiss. The little lightning dragon opened its eyes sleepily. It looked at Enchanting in confusion, as though it had just taken a nap instead of being devoured. It was confused as to why Enchanting was acting so warmly towards it. The little lightning dragon was back. Did that mean her master and father were back to normal? She wanted nothing more than to check for herself right then, but the thought of where she was deflated right away. Do the people from the Temple of Paragon actually think that I'm the reincarnation of their holy lord? Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. She had no choice but to impersonate the Holy Lord of Shadows previously and had almost lost her life a few times in the process. There was no way she wanted to experience that again, and the Temple of Paragon was over 100 times more powerful than the Temple of Shadows. Even 10 lives wouldn't be enough for her to mess with this giant. Enchanting was determined to not have anything to do with the Temple of Paragon. She was going to deny any connection with their Holy Lord to the end and leave as early as possible. Just as she was thinking about this, a sudden pain shot through her chest. The immense pain made her break into a cold sweat and she passed out. A ball of light floated in front of her chest. The light gradually faded as black mist covered it. The little lightning dragon sensed the black mist and curled up. Poof! A black orb emerged from the light and jumped in front of the little lightning dragon. The little lightning dragon was trembling. It was here again. The little black orb shook itself. It seemed to be extremely weak now and looked at the little lightning dragon without having any intention to enter it. Damn divine phoenix, why did it have to seal me? The little black orb jumped up and down. It had been sealed by the divine phoenix in the heart of the heavenly Tao. It couldn't move an inch and most of its time was spent in deep slumber. Fortunately, the seal had slowly disintegrated during this period and it could start regaining its consciousness. The black orb started panicking when it saw the unconscious Enchanting. Mother, it knew that Enchanting had left the first mainland, and probably even the first domain. Han Sangming had already vanished for a long time and hadn't shown himself since. What went wrong? The little black orb was extremely confused. It had no idea when things had started deviating from what it had thought would happen. Mother, you have to find father soon, the little black orb murmured. It was so weak that it couldn't even take over the little lightning dragon's body. The light suddenly shone again. In the next second, the little black orb was sucked back into the heart of the heavenly Tao. The divine phoenix's seal had not completely disintegrated yet. Damn divine phoenix. Enchanting gradually woke up. She felt as though she had just been dragged out of the water. There was still an immense pressure on her chest which made her want to throw up. She didn't have to think at all to know that her special treatment was only due to their suspicions of her identity. Thank you. Enchanting had thought things through as well. They weren't going to believe her no matter how much she denied it, so she would just pretend that she had lost her memory. They would have their methods of determining the truth anyway, so all she had to do was cooperate with them. She would be able to leave after they confirmed that she wasn't the reincarnation of their Holy Lord. This oppressive feeling was terrible. Chapter 2101, Floating Island. 1. Elder Hua brought Enchanting out of the palace and flew up to the sky. Enchanting looked at Elder Hua, not sure where she was taking her. Even though the space they were in was vast, she mentally calculated the difference in their powers and gave up on escaping. She wouldn't even be able to get a meter away before Elder Hua caught her. As they flew into the sky and into the clouds, a floating island appeared suddenly in her sight. It was a floating island high in the sky, hidden in the clouds. No one would be able to find it without flying past the clouds. The mysterious Temple of Paragon was only becoming more and more impressive in her eyes. "We're here," Elder Hua said as she landed on the floating island. This island wasn't big, but it was beautiful, with great mountains and clear waters. Enchanting didn't make a move after landing. She wanted to see why Elder Hua had brought her here. "Elder Hua," a voice suddenly came from their side. Elder Hua's mouth rose into a slight smile. In the next second, many small figures were running towards her. They were a bunch of extremely cheerful kids. When she looked around, she saw that everyone on the island was extremely young. The oldest was not even over 10 years old. And there were many alien race children. "Elder Hua, you're here to see us." A little winged child with pure white wings looked wide-eyed in reverence at Elder Hua. Elder Hua smiled gently and patted his head. "Have you been slacking off these few days?" We didn't. The little winged child shook his head hard as the other alien race children shook their heads as well. Enchanting's eyes softened as she gazed at the children. There was no way she could keep her guard up against them. She couldn't help but think of little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui. "Elder Hua, who is she?" An alien race child looked curiously at Enchanting. Elder Hua smiled and said, "Someone extremely important to me." The little children all gave an expression of understanding. Enchanting's lips twitched a little. She was merely an innocent bystander. How was she Elder Hua's important person? Could she not spout nonsense? The little kids surrounded Elder Hua warmly for a while before gradually leaving to train. Elder Hua saw the curiosity in her eyes and said, "These kids may become members of the Temple of Paragon one day." Enchanting instantly understood everything. These were kids recruited by the Temple of Paragon from the second domain. They were young but must have outstanding talent. After all, the Temple of Paragon only recruited the strong, and so they would pay great attention to the talents of these young children. They will stay on this floating island until they come of age. When they are of age, if they pass the examination, they will be able to join the Temple of Paragon. Chapter 2102, Floating Island. 2. There were many talented children, but not all of them would grow up to show as much potential as they had. Whether they could enter the Temple of Paragon or not depended on their ability as an adult. "I'm sorry, I don't think you should be telling all of this to a stranger." Enchanting interrupted Elder Hua. She emphasized the word stranger. After all, she had no interest in the matters of the Temple of Paragon. The more Elder Hua told her, the more she wanted to cover her ears. The children on these floating islands could all have their memories wiped and sent back to where they were if they weren't good enough. And what about her? She didn't want her memories to be wiped. Elder Hua was stunned by her bluntness for a moment before smiling slightly. "I'm sorry, I forgot for a moment. Please don't see yourself as an outsider." The view on this island is beautiful, so you can walk around by yourself for a while. I have other matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." With that, Elder Hua leaped into the air and left the floating island. She left Yi Qingtang standing alone where she was. Yi Qingtang was speechless as she gazed at the vanishing Elder Hua. Don't see herself as an outsider. No, thank you. She would continue treating herself as an outsider. It wasn't difficult to guess that Elder Hua thought she was the reincarnation of their Holy Lord, which was why her words and actions were so suggestive. But Yi Qingtang couldn't stand it. How many times did she have to say that she wasn't the reincarnation of their Holy Lord? Was it appropriate for Elder Hua to leave an outsider somewhere they were building their power? Was she being generous, or was it because the difference in their power was so great that Elder Hua could do whatever she wanted? Yi Qingtang sighed. She wanted nothing more than to take this chance to escape this place, but there was a feeling holding her back. Elder Hua must have only put her here if she wasn't afraid that she would escape. For all she knew, Elder Hua was waiting for her to return. So in the end, Yi Qingtang could only accept her fate for now. She would continue staying with them. With nothing else to do, she walked around the floating island. Like Elder Hua had said, there were a group of children on the island, the biggest of them not even coming up to her chest. Many of them weren't even up to her waist. She loved children. No matter how complicated and dirty the world got, in their eyes, everything was pure and clean. Having experienced a lifetime of turmoil, the children made her relax. After walking around the island, she sat down on a stone beside the pond. Resting her chin on one hand, she started thinking of how she could assuage their suspicions that she was the Holy Lord. Just when she was deep in thought, a loud sound blasted in her ear. A strong stream of air followed the sound. She lifted her eyes to take a look. A short distance away from her, a little winged child was floating in midair, both hands hanging by his belly with his fingers arched, and he tried to raise his dantian level. The sound she had heard was from the release of his energy. His face was filled with intense concentration as he continued to stimulate the power of his dantian. But right at the most important moment, he kept releasing the power. Chapter 2103, Floating Island, 3. Bored, she looked at the winged child as he tried again and again with stubborn determination. His eyes were rimmed with red and his nose was red as well as he choked back his sobs. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little. How long was this silly one going to try for? You're not going to succeed this way even if you try 1,000 times, she said with a sigh. The little winged child, who was deep in concentration, was startled by her voice. He turned to look at her as his wings shook gently and he landed in front of her. What do you mean? Why won't I succeed? The little winged child frowned and looked at her with red, panic-filled eyes. Nothing. I'm just speaking the truth. Yi Qingtang found it strange and was wondering where he had learned techniques that made her head hurt to look at. You. Her words sent the little winged child into a panic as his eyes filled with tears. Yi Qingtang felt like. How had she suddenly become a bully? You want to gather your energy. She was afraid that he was really going to start crying and quickly changed the topic. The little winged child nodded. Are you using your dantian to do it? She asked. He nodded again. That's wrong, she said with a soft sigh. Wrong? What do you mean? The little winged child looked at her in confusion. While humans and winged people are very similar, they're not the same. While humans can use the dantian to gather their energy, this method isn't as suitable for you winged people. There had been a difference in cultivation in the early years. The alien races had started cultivating later than the humans, which was why many of their techniques were borrowed from the humans. But as she had said, not all the methods that humans used were suitable for all the alien races. Try shifting the energy to the center of your chest, she suggested. The little winged child looked at her in doubt, not fully believing her words. But he remembered that Elder Hua had brought her here and decided to try it out. And it made his eyes light up immediately. I can gather my energy. His words were filled with joy. There's nothing wrong with my aura. I succeeded. The little winged man could feel the dense energy concentrated in the center of his chest, and it was cleaner than all his attempts previously. Infected with his apparent joy, she pointed to her chest and said, "The origin of the winged people is in the center of their chest, which is where you should gather your energy. The Dantian is the origin of humans. When you have a different origin, the place you gather your energy will be different too. Even though you winged people have a Dantian, gathering your energy there isn't suitable. I know. The wardens have told me before that for winged people, we can switch and cultivate from the center of our chest after gathering our energy. But this is my first time hearing that we could gather energy there." The little winged child looked at her in joy. Gathering energy was the most basic foundation for the winged people but was also the thing they had the most trouble with. Chapter 2104, Knowing Beforehand. 1. It was difficult for the winged people to gather their energy with the Dantian. Even those who were inherently talented found it hard to gather their energy using the Dantian before they were 10 years old. However, the little winged child found it extremely easy to gather his energy after Enchanting guided him along. Enchanting was slightly taken aback. The little winged person's words reminded her. It was something she had overlooked all along. Having lived more than 300 years, she could remember the developments over the past 300 years. 300 years was enough for major developments and changes to happen. Many martial arts foundations were revised over the 300 years to become more stable and refined. It was the same logic as when the winged people practice gathering their energy. It was only brought up by a genius winged person after 100 years. Enchanting hadn't been able to stop and calm down this lifetime, so she forgot about this point. While she knew many forms of martial arts, it was of martial arts from the 300th year onwards. Enchanting didn't know what to do at that moment. It was certainly remarkable for just anyone to know that much martial arts from 300 years later. However, Enchanting's powers from her past life were limited. Most of the changes in martial arts she knew about were merely changes in basic skills. Coughs. Now you know. Enchanting tried her best to not appear guilty. She was worried that her words earlier would attract the attention of the Temple of Paragon. But thinking about it from another perspective, these were merely basic martial arts. Even if the people from the Temple of Paragon learned about it, they wouldn't think much of it. They were so powerful, why would they even care about such basic skills? But Enchanting didn't know that everything that happened on the floating island was being reported to Elder Hua and the others. In fact, she had completely underestimated the consequences of saying those words. In the main hall, a crystal ball that showed Enchanting floated in the middle of the main hall. Elder Hua and Elder Bai stood in the main hall. A method for winged people to gather their energy. Elder Bai looked at everything that Enchanting said and did through the crystal ball with knitted brows. Elder you're from the clan of winged people. Do you have anything to say about what she just said? Once Elder Bai said that, a glimmer of light appeared on the wall. A handsome winged man walked out from the portrait. He walked over to the crystal ball, looking at the little winged person who was ecstatic after gathering his energy. This is my first time hearing of such a method to gather energy. Does it work? Elder Bai asked. Elder Yu didn't reply. He carefully watched the little winged person gather his energy. Elder Yu. Elder Yu retracted his gaze and finally replied, I believe all of you can already tell whether it works or not. The entire main hall went quiet. Elder Bai asked a redundant question. They all saw with their own eyes that the little winged person successfully gathered his energy with Yi Qingtang's guidance. Though it was a basic skill for the clan of winged people, many winged people were stuck there with no way of developing further. They would waste a huge amount of time just trying to practice that step alone. Chapter 2105. Knowing beforehand, 2, there were many changes and developments in martial arts, but one thing remained constant. The foundational skills. No matter how much time had passed, the basic foundation was the most important and most deep-rooted skill to possess. No one could change the foundational skills. One's foundation would have a large impact on future cultivation. It was precisely because of this that the clan of winged people was troubled for many years. At that moment, everyone fell silent. To think that a young lady from the first domain easily resolved a problem that troubled the clan of winged people for so many years. Do all of you really think that she's just an ordinary young lady? A voice came from one of the portraits hanging on the wall. These words struck everyone. We all know how backward the first domain is. Moreover, this young lady said that she's from the first mainland. That's the most backward place in the entire first domain. How long has she been in the central mainland? How could she know so much just by interacting with those alien races for such a short time? Even if she grew up in the central mainland, she couldn't possibly know all of that at this young age. Everyone started discussing once they heard those words. Their hearts palpitated at Yi Qingtang's capabilities. It's impossible that she's just an ordinary young lady. Even in the second domain, who would know as much as her? Elder Hua's brows lifted. I think that the fox demon elder is right. Other than our holy lord, who else knew this much about martial arts? Elder Hua retracted her gaze. She looked at Yi Qingtang in the crystal ball with admiration. Our holy lord is deserving of her title. Even when reincarnated as a human, she remains an elite. If she's really our reincarnated holy lord, why isn't she admitting it? Since she remembers martial arts, why can't she remember her identity? Someone questioned. You think that our holy lord needs memories to know all of that? Even with everything wiped out, it isn't difficult for our holy lord to start afresh and know all of that with her powers, Elder Hua said. Elder Hua's words made the elders immerse in thoughts. No one would deny the holy lord's powers and intelligence. On the floating island, Yi Qingtang had no idea that her every move was being watched by everyone at the Temple of Paragon. As she looked at the little winged child, he brightened her spirits. If only the heart of the heavenly Tao in her body wasn't threatening her survival, she would want to find a quiet place with good scenery and just lead a peaceful life. If she were to have a child, he or she must be this adorable. Somehow, when she thought about children, Ling Yan's face suddenly flashed past her mind. Yi Qingtang was astonished at that moment. What in the world? She didn't want a son like Ling Yan. Thank you. Chapter 2106. Knowing beforehand, 3, Yi Qingtang was speechless. What about me? I can't control the energy inside my body. A little kid from the fire tribe with flames all over his body jumped out. If I set the floating island on fire one more time, the elders will kick me out. Yi Qingtang was surrounded by the little kids in an instant. They were all of young age and most of their problems were foundational. As they hadn't become part of the Temple of Paragon, they naturally didn't know what the Holy Lord looked like. They saw Yi Qingtang come with Elder Hua and they also saw that she was kind enough to guide the little winged child along. So it was no surprise that they thought that Yi Qingtang was sent by Elder Hua to teach them how to cultivate. Yi Qingtang wasn't planning to get involved. She wanted to reject them, but these adorable kids started surrounding them. This was too unfair, they weren't playing by the rules. Enchanting never liked being a busybody, but when it came to children, she had a soft spot for them. Moreover, they were simply adorable. Come on, one at a time. In the end, Enchanting could only give in. They only faced problems with foundational skills. After 300 years, solutions to these problems have been developed. It wasn't difficult for Enchanting to just guide them along. After getting an answer from Enchanting, their hearts were lifted. The children started queuing up, waiting for Enchanting to answer their concerns. Everything was witnessed by the elders in the Temple of Paragon. They could take the previous incident of teaching the winged person how to gather his energy as a mere coincidence, but this time, they were completely stupefied. Enchanting started offering advice for every little alien race. Though it was just foundational problems, her solutions made the elders in the Temple of Paragon completely stunned. The fire tribe can control themselves like that. The corners of Elder Bay's mouth twitched. Elder Hua was filled with admiration as she watched Enchanting teach a little girl from the Ice Clan how to gather the icy air. Though it wasn't profound martial arts knowledge, her methods were a novelty for the various alien races. The results were flawless. Quite a number of elders who were convinced that Enchanting wasn't a reincarnation of the Holy Lord couldn't say a single word when they witnessed the scene. If she wasn't a reincarnated Holy Lord, she would be a rare superhuman that would only appear once in 10,000 years. She was able to easily dispel the problems of the alien races and provide creative cultivation methods that had never been heard of at such a young age. Our Holy Lord is great. Even when she has reincarnated as a human, she still impresses us with her powers. Elder Hua was filled with admiration for Enchanting. The Sea King token represented the Sea King's wishes. It must have been the Sea King's intention. As the king of the oceans for both domains who wielded a great amount of power, why would he suddenly send the Sea King token to the Temple of Paragon? The Sea Clan doesn't have anything to do with the Temple of Paragon. Have all of you forgotten about the deal between our Holy Lord and the Sea King? Once the Fox Demon said that, everyone recalled the incident from tens of thousands of years ago. The Sea Clan lived in the ocean and they rarely interacted with the powers living on the land. However, how could anyone disregard the powerful Sea King who lived in the ocean? Chapter 2108, Sea Clan 2. The Sea King controlled the Sea Clan of the two domains. If the Sea Clan were able to live on land, they would be one of the largest clans in the second domain. The Temple of Paragon was situated on the peak of a mountain and did not have much to do with the Sea Clan. However, the Holy Lord came into contact with the Sea King due to various reasons. One wielded immense power over the oceans of both domains while the other had control over the greatest forces in the second domain. They couldn't give way to one another. However, neither of them was keen on starting a fight. They suddenly came up with an idea to have a bet, and the outcome. The Holy Lord of the Temple of Paragon won. The Sea King stood by his promise and handed one divine item of the Sea Clan to the Holy Lord. After that, the Sea Clan and Temple of Paragon no longer had anything to do with one another. The divine item from the Sea Clan is still in the Temple of Paragon. The Sea King suddenly released the Sea King token. Could it have something to do with the divine item? Elder Yu spoke up. Of course, the Fox Demon answered. The Sea King took a wrong move and lost the bet. I believe that he must feel indignant about it. Is there any news from the Sea King and the Sea King token? Elder Bai asked. The Fox Demon nodded. It's the Holy Lord's birthday in 7 days. The Sea King claims that he wants to personally come and convey his well wishes. Everyone was taken aback by the Fox Demon's words. What? The Sea King wants to come. Yes, that is what is conveyed in the Sea King token. Since he released the Sea King token, I'm sure he will stand by it. The fox demon nodded. Their faces darkened. When did the Sea King become this sociable? All this time he refused to have anything to do with the Temple of Paragon when he lost the bet back then. Tens of thousands of years had passed and he suddenly wanted to convey his well wishes for the Holy Lord's birthday. His intentions were obvious. Only the seniors of the Temple of Paragon know about the Holy Lord's death. All these years, we've kept mum and told everyone that the Holy Lord went into seclusion to cultivate. The Sea King might have realized something was off, so he came up with his idea, the fox demon explained with narrowed eyes. The Holy Lord's death was the greatest secret of the Temple of Paragon. Other than the elders, only the guardians and a few of their trusted ones knew about it. Thankfully, the Temple of Paragon had been low-key all along, so the Holy Lord's seclusion wasn't surprising and no one suspected a thing. How did the Sea King even realize? We haven't been in touch with them in a very long time. Elder Hua was puzzled. Have you forgotten that our Holy Lord had a promise with the Sea King? Elder Hua was stunned. The Sea King made himself clear when he handed the divine item to our Holy Lord that the highest authority of the Sea Clan would need to reactivate the divine item after a certain period of time passed. The Holy Lord agreed to his request and that she would invite the Sea King over when needed. If I'm not wrong, we're 6 months over the agreed date, the fox demon said with narrowed eyes. The Holy Lord kept to all her promises, but this time, she had missed the agreed date. And they were 6 months late. The Sea King might have started suspecting them 6 months ago. You're saying that the Sea King already started suspecting that our Holy Lord is no longer alive? Elder Bai asked. Chapter 2109, Sea Clan, 3, the Fox Demon nodded. That wasn't good news for the Temple of Paragon. With their powers, they could sustain the Temple of Paragon's status even without the Holy Lord. However, if everyone else were to learn about the Holy Lord's death, they would probably have a lot of trouble coming in their way. Putting everything aside, the Sea Clan's divine item would be taken away by the Sea King. The Sea King lost the Sea Clan's divine item to our Holy Lord back then. If he learns of the Holy Lord's death, he would come and snatch the divine item away, the fox demon said. The Temple of Paragon had no fear of others, but the Sea Clan. He controlled the oceans of both domains. No one from any domain would dare to go against the Sea Clan. It would be disastrous. The Sea King need not do anything else. He could just use his ability to control the oceans and drown the entire mainland. Moreover, countless sea clans in the ocean would heed the Sea King's orders. Are we really going to return the Sea Clan's divine item to the Sea King? Elder Bai asked. Of course not. Elder Hua objected right away. How can we let someone else take away our Holy Lord's belongings? If we really allow that to happen, it would mean that we're incapable. How are we going to answer to her? The elders started discussing it heatedly. The Sea King's sudden appearance indeed disrupted their plans. The Sea King is guessing that our Holy Lord is not doing well. If we just let him know that his assumptions are wrong, everything would be fine, the fox demon suddenly said. Easier said than done. How are we going to let him know? Our Holy Lord has clearly. Before the elder could finish his words, the fox demon lifted his arm and the crystal ball appeared. It was an image of Enchanting. The corners of the fox demon's lips kicked up into a cunning smile. Isn't our Holy Lord here? Everyone was taken aback. They looked at Enchanting through the crystal ball. Her appearance and figure, wasn't that the Holy Lord herself? But, we can't confirm this young lady's identity yet. An elder was still concerned. Is it that important? I believe that she's a reincarnated Holy Lord while you have second thoughts. It doesn't matter now. As long as she appears before the Sea King, our problems will be resolved. The Fox Demon laughed. Fox Demon Guardian, do you really intend to let her see the Sea King? Even if she's a reincarnated Holy Lord, with her current powers, an elder was hesitant. They were just planning to start grooming Enchanting when the Sea King incident happened. There was no way they could proceed. After all, she was merely at the Paragon level. Wouldn't she be exposed in a matter of minutes in front of the Sea King? I have my ways. Putting that aside, we only have 7 days before our Holy Lord's birthday. How can we just not do anything about it? The Fox Demon's gaze traveled all over. Everyone instantly understood him. Do we have to inform the other 5 guardians? Elder Bai asked. We can inform them about it, but I'm not sure if they will make it back in time. Alright, I'll go and arrange it. As for the young lady, hand her over to Elder Hua, the Fox Demon said. Sure, Elder Hua agreed instantly. Chapter 21:10 Congratulations. 1. Several powers in the second domain started paying attention to the news of the Holy Lord's birthday celebration. However, many knew that with their current abilities, they were not fit to attend and likely wouldn't even receive an invitation to the Temple of Paragon celebrations. Wasn't the Holy Lord in seclusion? Perhaps she is out this year. She has been in seclusion for so long, does that mean that her capabilities have also? I wonder if the Watercut sect will be attending the celebration. Everyone joined the discussion. The Watercut sect had a strong sphere of influence in the second domain, almost comparable to the Heavenly Wolf sect. Watercut sect. I think you should stop joking. The Watercut sect is powerful in our eyes, but when it comes to the Temple of Paragon, do they even know about the Watercut sect's existence? Do you not remember when the master of the Watercut sect tried to act familiar with the deputy division head of the Temple of Paragon? They didn't even end up meeting each other, and the deputy division head was so annoyed that he almost destroyed the entire Watercut sect. That's scary, but I can't say that it surprises me. The Temple of Paragon has been secretive all along. Those who are able to establish relationships with them are naturally as powerful as them. Powers like the Watercut sect wouldn't even be considered by the Temple of Paragon. They had a good time gossiping about the Watercut sect, but once they saw some members of the Watercut sect walk past, they didn't dare say a single word. It would be a great honor for those in the second domain to just perform a simple act of sending a gift to the Temple of Paragon. Only the best of the best could attend the celebration, others wouldn't even be able to get close to the entrance of the Temple of Paragon. The Temple of Paragon's Holy Lord's birthday celebration was discussed by almost everyone in the second domain. Meanwhile, everyone from the Temple of Paragon began preparing for the celebration. Enchanting didn't know of the happenings at all. Although Elder Hua told her that she could come to the Temple of Paragon to walk around anytime, she didn't dare to do that. She wanted to have nothing to do with them so that they wouldn't destroy her once they realized she wasn't the reincarnated Holy Lord. Apart from resting every day, she regularly visited the floating island to spend time with the little children there. They were extremely talented, and it was only because they were young that their foundation wasn't strong enough yet. Enchanting guided them along with her martial arts knowledge from 300 years later. It was no surprise that the children on the floating island were ecstatic whenever they saw Enchanting. The elders saw everything that happened. They watched as the children improved their foundational skills quickly by adopting unique cultivation methods under Enchanting's guidance. The elders were planning to groom their reincarnated Holy Lord after resolving the Sea King's incident. Days went by and Enchanting was preparing to head to the floating island when she was suddenly intercepted by Elder Hua. Is there anything I can help you with? Enchanting looked at Elder Hua. She wasn't sure whether it was just her, but Elder Hua seemed to be dressed for an important occasion today. Are you going to the floating island today? Elder Hua smiled. Yi Qingtang nodded. She knew that her every move was being watched by the Temple of Paragon, so there was no need to try and hide it. I don't think you can go to the floating island today, but there's someone else I can take you to. Do you have any time now? Elder Hua asked politely. Elites from both domains would come to celebrate our Holy Lord's birthday every year. It was only after our Holy Lord's death that the Sky Temple became empty and we no longer had any celebrations. Elder Hua's voice was tinged with disappointment. Yi Qingtang could sense that Elder Hua was insinuating something else. Chapter 21:12. Congratulations. 3. Yi Qingtang had seen with her own eyes people from the Temple of Paragon decorating the place as well. She had also seen from the water mirror many clans coming to participate. A sudden sense of foreboding struck her. Could it be what she was thinking? Elder Hua didn't seem to have any intention of saying anything further. The image in the water mirror suddenly changed to focus on the inside of the Sky Temple. There were already many powers gathered in the huge temple, and she spotted someone familiar in the sea of faces. There were a few men dressed in red robes with the wind totem embroidered on their sleeves. The Wind Sect. She narrowed her eyes as she looked at them. She remembered that in her first life, Yi Yu had worshipped the Wind Sect and had become a strong empress under their guidance. The Wind Sect was one of the top powers of the second domain. Even the Crimson League would have to step back when confronted with them. Elder Hua heard her murmur and her eyes immediately fell on the people from the Wind Sect. In the main hall, they were looking extremely humble and cautious as they saw the other powers. Elder Hua's eyebrows furrowed slightly. The Wind Sect. She tapped gently on the water mirror. The head of the Wind Sect was standing with a few elders by his side in the main hall, all traces of his former arrogance gone. He smiled as he nodded at a few other powers. However, no one seemed to care about them and treated them like they weren't even there. Sect Master. Is that the Buddha of the East Buddha Temple? He came over personally to celebrate the birthday of the Holy Lord of the Temple of Paragon, one of the elders from the Wind Sect whispered to another big-bellied elder as he spotted someone in a cassock. It's not just the East Buddha Temple. The North Darkness Pavilion, the Shadow Moon Sect, aren't they all here? The Wind Sect elder forced himself to keep calm as he said this, but his words were still laced with emotion. It was the Temple of Paragon after all. Just the Holy Lord's birthday was enough to draw out the most mysterious and powerful forces of the second domain. It was difficult to even see them usually, but here they were, gathered together. This only demonstrated the esteemed position of the Temple of Paragon. We're just missing those from the Dragon Emperor clan, another elder said. The mainland that the Dragon Emperor clan is on is too far away, and the Temple of Paragon only released this news 7 days ago. Furthermore, the Dragon Emperor clan's position is about the same as the Temple of Paragon, so there's no need for them to be here personally. The Wind Sect elders' emotions were in turmoil. They thought that they had just been listed as one of the top powers of the second domain, but this made them realize that any power there could easily oppress them. Chapter 21:13. Sea King 1. The words echoed around the main hall as everyone turned to look. Many of them frowned at the sight of the Wind Sect. The Wind Sect had gotten extremely powerful in the past 1 to 2 years and had barely managed to become a top-tier power. But they were still weaklings compared to the older powers. We came today to give our well wishes to the Holy Lord on her birthday. If we could just see her, the Wind Sect master spoke politely. But before they could even finish their sentence, the attendants lost their patience and kicked them out. Like that, those from the Wind Sect were no match for them and were swiftly kicked out. Even the sect elders couldn't defeat them. It was a ridiculous spectacle, but they didn't dare show any anger. They held back their pain and left pathetically. How is it possible that the Wind sect was invited for the Holy Lord's birthday? They invited themselves after all. The North Darkness Pavilion Master laughed. Even though the Wind sect was considered one of the top powers now, they were still a far cry from the other powers. How was it possible that they would have caught the attention of the Temple of Paragon? North Darkness Pavilion Master, I haven't seen you in a while. I heard that you just reached the 10th level of Solitude Palm and haven't had the chance to congratulate you yet, the East Buddha Temple Buddha said with a laugh. That's nothing compared to the limitless realm you can enter. From the water mirror, Enchanting saw the people from the Wind sect being kicked out like dogs by the Temple of Paragon attendants, and she was filled with a sense of satisfaction. In her previous life, Yu had gotten extremely powerful with the backing of the Wind sect. The Wind sect had gotten extremely powerful, with Yu flaunting her power everywhere, leaving Enchanting with nowhere to run. But in front of the Temple of Paragon, they had been kicked out like vermin, bringing a smile to her face. So this was the difference in their power. While not extremely crowded, the top powers were all gathered in the main hall. Any one of them was enough to destroy the first domain. But they were all kind-faced now, waiting to wish the Temple of Paragon Holy Lord happy birthday. Life was really strange. There were even more powers outside the Sky Temple who didn't even have the qualification to be there. These were just the rules of the world. For the first time in her life, she was experiencing what it was like to be a top power. How terrifying! In her past life, if she had stuck to any of these powers, she would have been able to decimate Yu even when she was at her peak. Even the thought itself was exciting. Just when she thought that she had seen all the powers there, a sound came from the main hall. She looked at the water mirror and saw a bright blue light at the Sky Temple entrance. Countless blue waves were coming in from the horizon. It was as though the water was flooding the sky. Everyone in the main hall watched the clear waves calmly. Whoosh! The sound of waves filled everyone's ears. Many members of the Sea Clan were swimming in the waves under the sun. Thousands of sea creatures swirled past them as the clear sound of bells rang out. Chapter 21:14, Sea King, 2. All of a sudden, 8 giant sea creatures sprang out of the waves. They were wrapped in gold chains and pulled out from the water behind them a glowing blue carriage. Everyone's pupils shrank instantly. It's the Sea King's carriage. The Sea King. The Sea King is here. They couldn't believe their eyes. Even though they were all the top powers of the second domain, the sight of the azure carriage made them tremble. The ruler of the seas in 2 domains, millions of sea creatures, the leader of the oceans. It was the Sea King. Swoosh! Riding the rippling blue waves, the sea creatures stopped at the entrance of the main hall. The carriage behind them glowed a brilliant blue, blinding all of them. A figure suddenly flew from the carriage and landed in the middle of the Sky Temple main hall. It was a mammoth blue figure, about 2 times taller than an adult male. He held a golden trident in one hand, gold scales covering his body. Where is the Holy Lord? His loud voice boomed out in the main hall. The Sea King. The fox demon who had already been standing in the main hall greeted the Sea King politely as he saw him. Greetings, Sea King. The celebration has yet to start, so may we trouble you to wait a little while. He gave the attendants a subtle look. An attendant quickly moved a special seat into the main hall. The other attendants moved out of the way and formed a path for the Sea King. No one had any interest in provoking the King of 2 domain seas. No one wanted to die today. But they were all surprised as the Sea King was elusive and didn't like interacting with people on land. How great was the Paragon Holy Lord that the Sea King had come to personally attend her birthday celebration. Everyone exchanged glances but didn't dare to do anything in front of the Sea King. All this was seen by Enchanting. She could see the entire room freeze when he had appeared. The Sea King was the power of legends. She hadn't heard of a single person who could befriend the moody Sea Clan in her previous life. She was truly impressed by this holy lord. Even the Sea King had come. A long time ago, the Holy Lord made a bet against the Sea King and won. Elder Hua seemed to sense Enchanting's confusion and spoke up. The Sea King lost and had to hand a deity ocean from the Sea Clan over to the Temple of Paragon. Each deity ocean had to be cultivated for a long time by the Sea King to become that powerful, but our Holy Lord had already fallen and missed the agreed timing to meet with the Sea King. After half a year, the Sea King began to have his suspicions and decided to come today. You're saying that the Sea King suspects that your Holy Lord has already fallen? Enchanting said. Elder Hua nodded. He's here now. So you prepared this celebration for him? She asked. Elder Hua nodded. I see. Enchanting stopped asking questions. Elder Hua was shocked. Are you not curious as to why we are doing this? Our Holy Lord has already fallen. Don't you think we should be afraid that the Sea King will find out? I'm not curious at all. I'm not a naturally curious person. If there's nothing else, they'll be heading back to the floating island. Enchanting was determined to not fall into Elder Hua's trap. Chapter 21:15, Sea King 3. But Enchanting had underestimated how thick Elder Hua's skin could be. Since you're curious, I'll explain it to you then, Elder Hua said with a smile. No, she wasn't curious at all. She wanted nothing more than to get out of there. But Elder Hua wasn't giving her a chance at all and quickly continued, the Sea Clan will want to take back their magical object once they know that our Holy Lord is gone. It doesn't matter if they take it back, but we can't let outsiders find out that our Holy Lord is dead, so we'll need to ask you for your help today. I am sorry, but I won't be able to help. Goodbye, Enchanting interjected before Elder Hua could finish speaking and turned to leave. Don't joke around. She had long since seen through the Temple of Paragon's intentions. Were they crazy? You're indistinguishable from our Holy Lord. We only need you to make an appearance as the Holy Lord and attend the celebration. As long as you help us with this, we'll make sure to send you back to the first domain safely, Elder Hua stopped her and said in an affable manner. The Sea King is over there, as well as other top-tier powers. You want me, someone from the first domain, to impersonate the Holy Lord? Do you think I'm an idiot? Or that those people in the main hall are stupid? Of course, we've already considered this. As long as you put on our Holy Lord's clothes which still have her aura and power, they will not realize, Elder Hua said. Can I refuse? Enchanting asked. With a troubled face, Elder Hua said, I'm afraid not. I believed you when you said you weren't the Holy Lord's reincarnation, but many in the temple still harbor suspicions towards you, so they would reveal her true identity if she refused. She had already been in the Temple of Paragon for so many days. They were only suspecting her now. This was obviously a threat. They had calculated all of this from the beginning. I've never interacted with your Holy Lord before, and don't know how she is, so if anything happens, we will take responsibility, Elder Hua quickly said as she saw Enchanting slowly coming around. Enchanting sighed. Could she even reject them? Where are the clothes? She could tell that the Temple of Paragon had already planned this a long time ago. Trying to get herself out of the situation was useless. Joy filled Elder Hua's face as she heard Enchanting's words. She quickly handed over the clothes that she had long prepared in advance. Enchanting looked at the luxurious clothes in front of her. Even though it was covered in dust, the aura left on it was still very strong. With a sigh, she walked into the room with the clothes and changed into them. The fox demon's shadow appeared in the temple as she left. "Is everything going well?" he asked. Elder Hua nodded. "Even though she is reborn, the Holy Lord is as intelligent and can understand the situation right now. Of course she made the right decision." "That's great. You need to tell her about the other things as well," he said. "Of course. But, Guardian, if the Holy Lord ever regains her memory and finds out about this, she's not going to be happy." They were practically threatening the Holy Lord. "What we're doing today is to placate the Sea King and see if the Holy Lord will regain her memory. She will understand our effort. If the Holy Lord is able to rise to her peak again, it'll gladly be smashed into smithereens after today," the fox demon said. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared in a swirl of robes. Chapter 21:16, Sea Soul Chess 1. Elder Hua let out a sigh. "Holy Lord, please forgive us in the future. We did this for your good." In the Sky Temple, the Sea King remained unmoving as he stared ahead. He treated the rest as invisible, as though they didn't exist. "When is the Holy Lord coming out?" The Sea King got impatient after a short while. Outside the main hall, in the sky, various sea clans were invited. The fox demon stepped in front. "Our Holy Lord will be coming soon." "Humph." The Sea King disregarded the fox demon's words and got up. Everyone was shocked at the Sea King's move. The Sea King didn't seem like he was there to convey his well wishes for the Holy Lord's birthday. Right as the Sea King got up, the drum started sounding and a beam of light came down from the top of the Sky Temple, shining on the tallest seat in the temple. As the light shone down, a lithe figure appeared and slowly descended. "Sea King, it has been so many years and you are still the same." A beautiful voice was heard. Everyone lifted their heads, looking towards the lady that was surrounded with the light. The lady had an ethereal appearance, with the light surrounding her. Her dress flowed around and everything just seemed surreal. It was the Paragon Holy Lord. Everyone was shocked and many quickly stood up. They almost couldn't recall how long it had been since the Paragon Holy Lord last made an appearance. Enchanting took a seat. The corners of her lips slightly lifted into a gentle smile, but her expression was cold at the same time. The fox demon stood in the main hall, watching Enchanting take the main seat. In an instant, he recalled that many years ago, the Paragon Holy Lord also took the main seat and received greetings from everyone. The scenes overlapped and the fox demon's gaze turned passionate. He thought that they were similar, but now, they were identical. "Holy Lord." The Sea King's gaze landed on Enchanting as he was feeling slightly suspicious, but he hid it away. He looked at Enchanting with lifted brows. "Holy Lord, your memory is not too bad. How could you forget about our date if you've got such a good memory?" Enchanting looked around at the entire Hall of Powers and the domineering Sea King, her heart sinking. Comparing today to the time she had to pose as the Holy Lord of Shadows, this was certainly 1,000 times more exciting. After all, she would die any moment if she made any mistake. It was as if she was walking on thin ice. There was no way Enchanting could get herself out of this. Collecting her frenzied thoughts, she calmed herself down, placing one hand on the armrest. "It's only 6 months. Anyway, you're already here. I would never forget about it since it concerns my clan's divine item," Sea Clan answered, and he sized Enchanting up nonchalantly. The Paragon Holy Lord just disappeared, and though it was said that she was in seclusion, the Sea King didn't think the same way. That was precisely why he came today. However, The Sea King remained suspicious, but he didn't spot any abnormality even after observing Enchanting. Chapter 21:17 Sea Soul Chess 2. The Sea King could tell that Enchanting wasn't a clone, neither was she a disguised Holy Lord. There was no way he couldn't spot any of those antics. Could it be that the Paragon Holy Lord really had been in seclusion? Everyone was shocked and they overheard the conversation between the Sea King and Enchanting. From what the Sea King just said, the Sea Clan's divine item was still in the Temple of Paragon. What was going on? Many leaders exchanged glances. They didn't dare say anything in the Sea King's presence. Since you're so concerned about the divine item, why don't you go take a look at it? Enchanting said. The Sea King didn't answer right away. Enchanting was calm and collected, no one could tell what was on her mind. The Fox Demon and the other elders of the Temple of Paragon watched as Enchanting reacted to the Sea King. They were originally worried that Enchanting would perform poorly in front of everyone, but they were relieved. If one didn't know the truth and just witnessed the scene, they would really think that Enchanting was the Holy Lord. She's formidable. She's just an ordinary young lady from the first domain, and yet she's able to deal with the Sea King of both domains. She's doing well. If I hadn't brought her here myself, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Elder Bai watched everything using the water mirror. He somehow felt that Enchanting was the Holy Lord herself. Elder Hua smiled. Elder Bai, you're still suspecting she's not our Holy Lord. You've said it yourself. She's from the first domain. Let's not mention the Sea King. Someone from the first domain wouldn't be able to handle just any guest in the main hall. Don't you think that her demeanor and aura are exactly the same as our Holy Lord? Elder Bai's brows furrowed. We need to explore that possibility when we have a few more guardians around. Elder Hua didn't say anything more. The atmosphere within the main hall seemed worrying. Enchanting didn't say a word, and the Sea King remained quiet, and everyone else in the main hall was waiting for them to speak. The entire main hall fell into a dead silence. After a while, the Sea King spoke with raised brows. We don't have to rush things. It's your birthday today, I must convey my well wishes first. Right after the Sea King said that, huge waves suddenly appeared outside the palace. A huge chest rode on the waves and landed in the main hall. There is no need for you to do that. It's the thought that counts, Enchanting said. The Sea King replied, I'm sure you'll be satisfied with this gift. The Sea King then lifted one arm and the chest burst open. When the chest opened, there was a bestial roar coming from inside, as mist enshrouded the main hall. As the mist moved around, it formed into illusionary beasts that filled the main hall. Everyone was shocked to see the illusionary beasts. Their gazes riveted to the chest. But the chest had already disappeared and a chessboard replaced it. It floated in midair. The chessboard was a piece of art. The mist surrounding the chessboard continued evolving, as though there were countless beasts hidden among the mist. They could hear the groans of the beasts clearly. Chapter 21:18 Sea Soul Chess 3. Sea Soul Chess. The North Darkness Pavilion Master uttered in shock when he saw the mysterious chessboard. North Darkness Pavilion Master, what is that? The North Darkness Pavilion Master's eyes were still filled with admiration, but he said slowly, Legend has said that the Sea Soul chessboard was created by a god and contains everything in the world. No one has ever seen it before, and I've only seen it in a tattered book before. I heard that to play Sea Soul chess, one not only has to have great skills at chess but also enough power to control the entire game. But there are no pieces on the board, another master said. The Sea Soul chess is a collection of many souls and is a legend. I've only seen it illustrated once only and have never seen the real thing, so I'm not sure, the North Darkness Pavilion Master said with a sigh. The Sea Soul chessboard was a divine item and had faded into the stuff of legends when the god had vanished. He had not expected to see the real thing at the Paragon Holy Lord's birthday celebration. He hadn't made this trip in vain after all. Apart from the North Darkness Pavilion Master, many other people recognized the Sea Soul chessboard as well, and their expressions mirrored his. The Sea King was probably the only person within the two domains who would dare to take it out. Anyone was lucky to have witnessed this. However, everyone was wondering why the Sea King was giving such a precious item to someone else. This was too generous of him. But the fox demon's eyes flashed and he frowned slightly when he saw the Sea Soul chessboard. He hadn't expected the Sea King to make such a move. Enchanting had never seen or heard of the Sea Soul chessboard before, but she could tell that it was important from everyone else's reactions. Regardless, she didn't know much about the relationship between the Sea King and the Paragon Holy Lord. Was their relationship this good? She remained still. Gazing at the Sea Soul chessboard, a look of belligerence flashed past his face and he looked at Enchanting. All those years ago, you and I played this in the sea and I lost by just one move, so I had to give you a divine item from the Sea Clan as per our agreement. Do you remember? Enchanting nodded. I destroyed that board in anger. For the past few years, I've sent thousands of Sea Clan members off to find a second set, and was lucky to finally find one a year ago. With that, he suddenly raised his hand and swept it gently across the chessboard. Beautiful crystal chess pieces appeared on the empty board. There were 36 pieces each on both sides. Each piece was unique and modeled after ancient creatures, and was extremely lifelike. But as his arm came down, the chess pieces shifted into different positions on the board, making it look like a half-played game. That year, you trapped me with a certain move. I agonized over it for many years before I finally found a way out of it. I brought this set today to ask if you have any interest in finishing this match with me. The Sea King raised his eyes, which were filled with provocation. Chapter 2120, Chess Game 2. The Temple of Paragon would once again think that she was the reincarnation of the Holy Lord and wouldn't kill her. If she didn't agree to it, the Sea King would get suspicious and take the opportunity to attack them. With her strength, she probably wasn't going to leave the place alive. So she had no choice but to do this. This so-called birthday celebration turned out to be a trap. It seemed that her reply satisfied the Sea King. He laughed uproariously and gestured for her to start the match. Having no other choice, she flew over to the Sea Soul chess. She hadn't felt anything thus far, but as she neared the board, she could feel a strong force slowly surging out from it. This force pulled her slowly into the game. We will continue our original match. You can't let all those years I spent scrutinizing your move go to waste, the Sea King said. The eyes of the different powers present all shifted to Enchanting and the Sea King. They had never seen Sea Soul chess before and had only heard rumors of it, so they were all extremely excited. But the fox demon didn't look reassured at all. Seeing that the matter was already set, he didn't say anything else and merely gave those from the Temple of Paragon a look. The Temple of Paragon attendants and elders all quickly walked out of the main hall. What is the Temple of Paragon doing? The other powers were all extremely curious when they saw them walk out. Even Elder Hua and Elder Bai walked out. Everyone was confused. The Sea King didn't notice at all. All he was focused on was his past humiliation. "I'll make the first move," the Sea King said in a low voice as he picked up a chess piece and moved it across the board. The audience was merely looking on in anticipation without feeling anything different, but as the Sea King put down his piece, a wave of energy surged outwards. In that instant, rays of light shot out from the Sky Temple as countless clouds erupted from it. The entire Sky Temple was quickly filled with clouds and light. The entire place seemed to be enveloped in illusions as countless divine beasts burst forth. The huge figures filled the entire main hall with piercing screams that made everyone's heads feel like bursting. Arg! One of the members of the powers present who did not have enough cultivation exclaimed as he coughed out blood. Even the masters of the other powers felt the attack. We can't watch this match. In an instant, they realized that this Sea Soul chess match was not something someone like them could witness. The energy that gushed out with every move was enough to eradicate all those below the Holy Venerate level. Even the more powerful masters felt uncomfortable. Their curiosity towards the Sea Soul chess all vanished within a second. Now they understood why the Temple of Paragon people had all left the main hall. The masters of each power quickly brought their members out of the main hall. They had only made one move and the effect was already so strong. Who knew what more terrifying things would happen if they stayed? Chapter 21-21, Chess Game 3. The demons and others didn't react much when they saw those who were previously spectating walk out of the room. They were all focused on Enchanting. Once a match of Sea Soul chess started, every move would unleash a wave of ancient power. Only those who were powerful enough could withstand it. If one was careless, it could easily lead to their minds breaking under the attack. They were extremely worried about whether Enchanting could hold out. It came as a surprise when they saw her standing in front of the Sea King. They had known that her mental strength was better than ordinary people, so had let her try it out, but didn't she look too accustomed to this? She showed no signs of pain at all. If she was pretending, she was doing a great job. Or was it just that the Holy Lord's energy hadn't disappeared in her successor? The demon and elders exchanged glances as hope filled their eyes. Could the Holy Lord regain her memories under the provocation of the Sea Soul chess? In the main hall, Enchanting thought it was strange that people were rushing out. What was wrong with them? She had felt a wave of mental energy rush out when the Sea King made his move, but before she could even react, it had been absorbed by a force within her body. It was the deity ocean. She could feel the deity ocean absorbing the wave of energy, which was why she was unharmed. Inwardly she wiped the cold sweat off herself as she watched people leave. These were all top-tier powers who couldn't even withstand the force. If not for the deity ocean, her mind would have been shattered when the Sea King made his move. She had been too careless. How was my move? The Sea King had long since familiarized himself with the Sea Soul chess and was nonchalant. He knew that the Holy Lord was one of the few who could play this with him, so naturally did not think that she would react to the rush of energy. But the truth was different. Enchanting sighed and repressed her shock, turning her gaze to the piece that the Sea King had moved. She was speechless. She couldn't understand at all. There were 72 pieces in the shape of beasts in total between the two of them on the board, but she couldn't tell what the rules were. How did someone win? Or lose? She was utterly confused and no one could explain it to her now. Not bad, she said with pretense. The Sea King was satisfied. The year they had their previous match, the Holy Lord had sealed off all the paths that his pawns could take with one move. He had agonized for so many years before overcoming her move. He had turned the game around with one move and revived his pawns. It was Enchanting's path which was sealed now. It's your turn. Please make your move, he said with a smile. She felt helpless as she looked at his satisfied expression. Then, she would move however she liked. From the beginning, she was already prepared to lose anyway. She had already tried her best. The Temple of Paragon couldn't hold that against her. So she calmed herself down and swept her gaze over the chessboard. Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, Nine Heaven Tortoise, Unicorn, Phoenix, and Sky Dragon. The different figures appeared in her sight one by one. She could only go with her instinct and pick the White Tiger. It looked a lot like a grown-up little white tiger. "I'll choose you." Chapter 21-22, Even a broken clock is right twice a day. 1. A look of surprise flashed across the eyes of the Sea King when he saw Enchanting lift the white tiger chess piece. Before he had much chance to ponder, Enchanting had already made her move. A golden light shot out from the white tiger chess piece on the chessboard. Lit by golden light, the fog in the inside of the temple instantly dispelled. The roars of a tiger echoed as if a tiger was descending from the mountains. The roars were so formidable that they shook the mountains and rivers. A massive white tiger shape draped in tens of thousands of golden rays appeared in the Sky Temple. It pounced out from behind Enchanting toward the Sea King. The Sea King stared at the massive white tiger shape with narrowed eyes. After the light faded a little, he finally managed to get a clear view of the situation on the chessboard. The Sea King's arrogant expression turned into shock at what he saw. How did this happen? The Sea King frowned. His confidence wavered. Enchanting, what was going on? The Sea King's expression became increasingly grave. Many years had passed since he had last fallen into a trap set by the Holy Lord on the chessboard. He had expended a lot of brainpower over it before finally solving to break out of the trap. But now, the Sea King was feeling the similar oppressive aura of imminent death. He scanned the chessboard with sharp eyes, mapping out every possible move. There appeared to be many ways out, but every single way would lead to a pre-planned death trap. One wrong move would lead to even more wrong moves. For a moment, the Sea King had no idea what to do. The tables had turned once again. No matter which moves he made next, Enchanting would have the ability to checkmate him. It looked like he still had a chance, but there was actually none left. Suddenly, the Sea King's eyes narrowed. The Holy Lord's chess skills are still as formidable as before, the Sea King said solemnly. Enchanting was rather stunned by the Sea King's deflated expression. She scanned the chessboard in front of her in complete befuddlement. She had no idea what was happening. She didn't even know the basic rules of the game. Her earlier move was pure guesswork. She had liked the appearance of that white tiger chess piece and so had chosen to move it forward. But, what was the meaning behind the Sea King's expression? "I concede." The Sea King knew that he was unable to resolve his dilemma on the board and decided to concede. Enchanting smiled, but she was utterly confused on the inside. Within these two domains, only you and I have chess skills of this level. Today, I can give you this Sea Soul chess without any regret. In the future, after I figure out the solution to this chess game, we will pit our skills against each other again. With that, the Sea King opened his hand and his trident, which had been floating nearby, flew to his hand. He turned and walked over to the tightly shut door. The Sea Soul chessboard seemed to sense that the opponent had left and withdrawn its aura. The visions in the temple disappeared without a trace. Enchanting stared incredulously after the Sea King's departing profile, all the way until the Sea King arrived before the tightly closed door. His figure wavered a little before disappearing. It was almost like a dream. She had won. Enchanting looked at the empty temple before looking at the Sea Soul chessboard in front of her. She had actually defeated the ruler of the two ocean domains, the Sea King. This feeling was so confusing. The crowd waiting outside the Sky Temple was staring fixedly at the locked door. They were extremely curious about what was happening inside. Chapter 21-23. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. 2. The expressions on the Fox Demon and other Temple of Paragon people had turned grave as they waited outside the temple. They had no idea what was happening inside the temple. Although they knew that Enchanting's mental energy was better than an average person's, they dared not vouch that Enchanting would be able to withstand the Sea Soul chessboard's attack. Guardian, would we really have to return the Sea Clan's divine item to the Sea King if she loses? Elder Bike spoke with a hint of reluctance. If so, of course we have to return it. The Fox Demon replied. Whether or not she is the reincarnation of the Holy Lord, it will be verified in time. If she ends up losing the Holy Lord's item because of a moment of carelessness, but as of now, she is still the Holy Lord. The Fox Demon spoke meaningfully. Elderby knew that this was definitely not the right time to expose Enchanting's identity. Now that they had reached this stage, they had no choice but to keep quiet and see through things to the end. Just as everyone was waiting, a figure suddenly appeared at the temple doors. It's the Sea King. Elder Hua's heart jumped when he saw that it was the Sea King. Even if Enchanting was able to hold against the Sea Soul chessboard's attack, she had no idea what the rules of the Sea Soul chess were. How would she be able to compete against someone with such exemplary chess skills like the Sea King? In the entire world, only the Holy Lord was able to defeat the Sea King. Not much time had passed, but the Sea King had already emerged from the temple. A deep sense of foreboding arose in their hearts. Elderby frowned and exchanged looks with the Fox Demon. They decided to keep still and silent for the moment. The rest of the spectators also didn't make any noise on seeing the Sea King emerge. The Sea King stood outside the Sky Temple. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on him. The Sea King lifted his head emotionlessly. He looked at the clear waves above his head, and the countless members of the Sea Clan. Suddenly, the Sea King laughed heartily. Amazing, really amazing. Since the Holy Lord went into seclusion, I have not had such a great game of chess with anyone. I have finally fulfilled this desire. The Sea King's cheerful laughter was like a hammer pounding upon the hearts of the elders of the Temple of Paragon. They were doomed. Enchanting must have lost. Otherwise, why else would the Sea King be so happy? The other leaders naturally had the same line of thinking. But just as everyone came to this conclusion, the Sea King suddenly turned his gaze toward those of the Temple of Paragon. Quietly, the Fox Demon took a deep breath and stepped forward. Sea King, please wait for a minute. I will send our servants to retrieve the Sea Clan divine item now. The Sea King nodded in satisfaction. The Fox Demon's eyes dimmed. Indeed, the faces of the Temple of Paragon elders also turned slightly grim. But on such a public stage, they had no choice but to put up a false front of calm. Make haste and retrieve the item. I have to return to sea immediately after I reactivate it. Everyone was stunned by the Sea King's words. What was going on? The dullness in the Fox Demon's eyes was replaced by a flash of shock. The Sea King was talking about reactivating and not bringing it back. Could it be? An outrageous notion appeared in everyone's minds. But they did not dare to believe it. Why are you still standing there in a daze? I have things to do. In the future, if your Holy Lord forgets the time in reactivating this divine item, I won't be so nice as to personally come here again. The Sea King sounded annoyed when he noticed that the Fox Demon and the others remained still. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.